What's up, Junes? Curious? If we're always wasting time doing useless things or watching millions of videos finishing those weird YouTube recommendations, why not spend a few minutes on Mr. Curiosity instead and learn something? 30 totally epic facts that you'll forget in 10 minutes. But these aren't just any facts, these will leave you completely amazed. For this and much more, these are 30 things you didn't know 5 minutes ago. From a couple of years back, with leaders like Elon Musk, the idea of spending a few years on the surface of our neighboring planet, Mars, is getting closer and closer. And did you know that? In the city of Petra in Jordan, we can find a luxurious hotel known as Wad Durham Babel Lux Hotel, which aims to give its guests an interplanetary experience. Inside some curious bubbles that overlook the desert landscape, the Simpsons have always anticipated major events or happenings. And did you know that just as shown in an episode, there is a contest for the world's ugliest dog? In this case, if we travel to California, to the city of Petaluma, we can find Quasimodo. This poor little dog is a 10-year-old German Shepherd who was born with a malformation in her spine. And that's what gives her this unusual appearance. What an interesting thing, Quasimodo, for sure. Have you ever heard of the famous work Frankenstein, written by Mary Shelley, which is quite old and remains a classic? But do you know what the name of the monster in the story is? Most likely you think his name is Frankenstein, but actually he doesn't have a name. However, many have given him the nickname Adam, in reference to a phrase the monster says in the book. If we talk about classic games, we're talking about Pac-Man. Throughout its history, many have tried to achieve the highest possible score, but none surpassed the record of Billy Mitchell, who in 2018 became the world champion of Pac-Man. By reaching more than 3 million points in just 6 hours in London, at the end of the 19th century, the name was given to a killer known as Jack the Ripper, who is still talked about today. And in 1987, a video game about this killer was released, in which, although it only contains text to follow the adventure, it stands out for being the first video game to be classified for adults only. Known for many roles in different movies like that one in La La Land, the real name of the actress Emma Stone is actually Emily Stone. She revealed in an interview that she changed her name at the start of her career because someone else already had it. The Actors Guild doesn't allow two people to use the same pseudonym. Did you know that, my friend? You've probably seen an anthill at some point and thought about the piles of ants coming out of it, since they just seem like thousands and thousands of them. Well, it turns out that it's estimated there are between 1,000 and 10,000 trillion ants in the world, which would be something like more than 1 million ants per person. Yes, that's a lot. There's a species of squid that has puzzled scientists for a long time because of the symmetry in its eyes. Its name is the strawberry squid, since the texture of its skin resembles that of the fruit. And recently, the purpose of its eyes has been discovered. It turns out that one of them is used to see the lights on the surface, while the other helps it identify bioluminescent creatures in the ocean. If you're a music fan, you probably know the actor Benedict Cumberbatch, who plays the role of Doctor Strange in different movies. But did you know that he was once kidnapped in 2004 while filming a movie? He says that some men looted his car and put him in the trunk. Fortunately, this lasted just over 2 hours until he was able to get out unharmed. Have you ever had a song stuck in your head that you couldn't stop singing all day or even for several days? You'll be surprised to know that this has a name, and it's called an earworm or musical earworm. But, coming from English, this term refers to what happens when you hear the melody of a certain song over and over again in your head. That's definitely strange. Human body. No doubt about it. One of the biggest tourist attractions in San Francisco is the Golden Gate, an orange-colored bridge over the water that is constantly being maintained. In fact, it's said that about 200,000 liters of paint are used every year for its proper maintenance. In architecture, we can find some truly fantastic and pleasant pieces, but however, we can also come across some that are a bit strange. This is the case with upside-down houses, which, as their name suggests in English, are houses that are completely inverted, giving them an appearance we're not used to. Without a doubt, the eyesight of some animals is extraordinary. And besides the fact that many of them can even see beyond what humans can, the truth is that not all of them have the same vision. For example, owls have incredible eyesight. They can capture 30 times more light than humans and are the only species that can see the color blue. Without a doubt, one of the greatest and most important constructions ever seen by humanity is the Great Wall of China, with a length of thousands of kilometers. However, completed in 1579, very few have seen where this structure ends, since its location is in the Chinese city of Qidao, in the Wuhan Sea. There are many archaeological pieces, both writings and objects, we know little about, and this is no exception. The Phaistos disc dates back to 3500 before Christ, and it is a fired clay disc where we can see several inscriptions around it. To this day, archaeologists still can't identify its meaning, making it one of archaeology's greatest mysteries. I think it was the aliens. Have you ever imagined how far technology could go? If your answer is yes, you'll be amazed to discover that not long ago, what we know as the Xenobot was created. This is a small biobot that was created partly with organic material that has its own life and can regenerate itself autonomously. Although it sounds incredible, the sea is an excellent environment for aging wine. A great proof of this are the old bottles found under the sea due to shipwrecks, and they have been discovered in excellent condition. And that's why nowadays we can find underwater wineries, which are not considered harmful to the environment. Astronomy is an extremely important science and in general quite complex to study. From tasks like studying stars to even more complicated ones. It's a science that requires a lot of effort and dedication. But you probably can't imagine how old the youngest astronomer in the world is. Just 8 years old. Nicole Oliveira works for National Aeronautics and Space Administration hunting asteroids, and she may also be the youngest person to ever discover one. Have you ever thought about marriage, picturing your outfit, the decorations, and the cake? On that note, a pastry chef in Dubai displayed the world's most expensive cake. Standing at 1.8 meters tall, it features thousands of flowers, 5 3-carat diamonds, and is valued at over $1 million. Why so luxurious? Dubai? Why? Surely you've had a dream that you struggle to remember when you wake up, or even forget after a few minutes. Or maybe you even think you never dream when you sleep. Well, actually, studies have shown that we are always dreaming, and that when we sleep, our brains generate activity when we reach the rapid eye movement phase of sleep. Still, the problem is that we forget about 90% of what we dream when we wake up. Flamingos are those pink aquatic birds whose species is endangered. Due to several factors, there are fewer birds worldwide, so it's possible there are now more decorations than actual birds. On our planet, it's estimated that there are thousands and thousands of discovered species, and not all of them are as adorable or common as we think. And if you hate insects, you'll probably dislike this just as much. In Australia and New Zealand, we can find moths that are bigger than our hand, reaching about 30 centimeters and weighing more than 30 grams. If we talk about video game companies, Nintendo is one of the ones at the top of this list. It's inevitable to think of video games like Mario Bros. Or Donkey Kong when we mention it. However, you'll be surprised to know that it was created more than a century ago, in 1989 in Japan, and it was actually not founded as a gaming company but as a playing card company. Thank you then, gentlemen of Nintendo. Used to sunsets with an orange or even red hue, you'll be surprised to know that sunsets seen from Mars are blue. And this is because the atmosphere here is different from ours, so the rays from the star end up reflecting differently, creating this color. There's no doubt about the history that exists behind our countries in general, and today there is only one continent named after a real person. America was named in honor of a merchant and explorer whose name was Amerigo Vespucci. If you like listening to music, then you'll love this fact. Several studies have shown that songs, or even humming, affect the rhythm of your heartbeat, and it has even been proven that music can also modify other aspects, such as our mood, blood pressure, and even breathing. The case of Pluto is well known, where it had to be discarded as a planet because it was considered too small compared to the rest of the solar system. But still, I'm sure you can't imagine just how small this planet is, even if you don't believe it. The country of Russia could be bigger than it, since it has a surface area that's actually a bit larger than Pluto's. According to what has been identified, armadillos are extremely interesting animals, and they have a certain curiosity. For example, their pregnancy usually lasts about 60 days, but they can even delay it for up to 2 years if they want to. In addition, among their different species, we find that 9-banded armadillos almost always give birth to 4 offspring. And interestingly, their sex is always the same. That's really strange, Mr. Armadillos. Visual diseases or disabilities are more common than you think. And did you know that even if a human were born blind, they smile from the very first moment? And this is because smiling is a normal reaction to different stimuli. In addition, it has been proven that people with this condition can detect when another person is smiling. Without a doubt, one of the most recognized writers in classical literature was Shakespeare, known for having written works like Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet. He also has some other curiosities, such as being the inventor of the name Jessica. In fact, it didn't exist until 1596 when Shakespeare wrote The Merchant of Venice, where this name appears. Subscribe.